Well, hello there. Thanks for joining me. I am Dr. Jen, and this is My Life as a Landlord. Welcome back. I'm so pleased you've joined me for today's show. My guest today is a frequent guest on the show, and understandably so. She's my podcast coach, but she's also a business strategist and an efficiency expert. And quite frankly, she overthinks everything, which is good. It can also be bad, but it's mostly good. The last time she was on, the very last time was episode 152 discussing setting up remote landlord systems, but she is back for more. Sydney, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat more about this today.
Yay. Well, it's so funny. Right before the call, you started going into what we were going to talk about on the call. And I just said, just stop. Just share your screen for all. If you're watching this on YouTube at My Life as a Landlord, she's going to share her screen and she's just going to go through this because she's created these incredible systems that I haven't even seen them fully. I'm just excited for what you have to show us. So get to it, share your screen. I think you still have permission.
Awesome. And yeah, just for anyone that's listening on the podcast version and that's not on YouTube, you can also click the link in the show notes, and then you'll be able to actually view this template that I'm reviewing, so you can actually see what I'm talking about. But I'll try to do my best at explaining as I go so that it makes sense if you're just listening in the car too.
I love it. I love it.
Okay. So let me share my screen.
So this one is starting about onboarding remotely. And am I right that you've gotten to the point where you've gotten all the way to tenant screening? You've said yes, you've screened your lease, and that's kind of where we're at starting this
Yes.
episode. Okay.
Exactly. So
Okay.
we're talking about onboarding here. So this is the point where you've signed the lease and you're now saying, welcome, you're a new tenant. They're going to be moving in soon. How do we set the expectations? How do we go over all of that? And how do we keep it organized for yourself internally, especially if you're managing multiple properties, and so that you can see things from a higher level, as well as giving your clients a good onboarding, or tenants, sorry, a good onboarding experience.
I love it. You can just
Sorry, I
tell
switch between client
client
and tenant
tenant.
all the time.
You're a business strategist. That's good. Okay, so you've shared your screen. It's entitled rental properties. How to use this template. Okay, so you've made a template for us. Walk us through this.
Yeah, so I've given some instructions here, and you're more than welcome to just delete these once you've kind of read through it. But it's kind of an intro, just saying how to use it. This is how you can. This is essentially your hub for organizing your properties, so that you can have just an area that you feel like you're organized, because it gets, your brain gets chaotic and you have all these things going on, and it's like, how do I actually see this in a nice way? So this is the rental property database. So essentially it's like Google Sheets or Excel, and except for with a lot more features to give you more visualization options and to be able to give you more features so that you can actually use this as a tool with your tenants as well.
Hmm.
So for example, in this main area, we have property name. So this would be you can title it the address. We have a status property. Sorry, you can put the address here. But if you wanted to name it as well, you can. Property type, the tenant's name, lease start, lease end, monthly rent, maintenance request, last inspection, and so on. This is the beauty of this. You just add a new field if you would like, and you can track any data that you want to be able to add onto this spreadsheet. So the fun part about it, though, is that when we actually go to click into it, we get to make a new version of this. So I'm just going to call it test property.
Okay.
And so when we're in here, I have it set so it creates a template inside of this. So this is your view for you to be able to see everything. So you can see all the details that you need to see as the landlord. But when we open this, this is where we have inside, and you can put notes and comments and all the things. But inside here, we have an onboarding template, and we can call this property guide, property packet, whatever you want to call this, for, reference it in your remote property business. You want to be able to label this how you want. But when you click into it, we essentially have a overview, and this is the property overview that you can then share this specific page with your tenants. So then when they sign the lease, they get this onboarding template, has all the information about the property, which is great because then you don't have to repeat yourself a million times, because essentially that's what it is every time you're moving in a new tenant. I mean, we want good retention, but we know it's bound to happen. We're going to be onboarding new tenants. It's just the way the business goes. So we want to make sure that process is super streamlined and organized for you and for them, so that they feel confident when they're moving into their new property. do you have any questions or do you want me to keep going?
Well, no, keep going. This is
Okay.
so in this template, you've got the property overview. I mean, literally, just so the listeners are aware, this kind of stuff is what is in my lease addendum as well. So,
Yeah,
but
okay.
that's me, and not everybody's like that. And I'm even looking at this going, wow, there's a lot more emergency lines in here that I probably should have in my onboarding template for the tenants. Yeah, okay, wow, keep going.
Yeah.
This is great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. So this is essentially like we have an emergency contact section, section. Sorry,
Hmm.
we have that this area where they can share everything. Just emergency information. We have
Hmm.
maintenance requests. So if you have a ton of properties, it's like how can we streamline this so that this is a little bit more organized, so that you're not maybe getting every phone call. Who's your point of contact, especially if you're remote? Is there, who is your point of contact? I think figuring out that is number one, because at the end of the day, if you're a remote landlord, you're going to you won't be able to directly attend to these. Maybe you will be the one managing it. However that works, you need figuring out whether it's creating a separate not phone number that you need just for tenant calls, emails to organize things. That's an option. But essentially giving them guidance on how they need to submit maintenance requests so that you
Hmm.
can organize it. So there's a few things that you can do. You can use something like what we talked about in the original episode. If they wanted to submit something and it goes to everybody on your team, they could submit a form, they could send a text, however you want to organize it. I think the biggest thing is just communicating how they do it, the way it works, and how you respond and what that looks like, which is the difference between emergencies, urgent and routine, right? So there's going to be situations where the people are coming now, and there's situations where it's going to get handled because it's not super urgent and you have to wait for a contractor, and that's going to happen in even more than 5 business days sometimes too. So those are kind of the
Hmm.
scenarios for that situation. And then
Wait,
we
can I
have
jump in
also,
one sec
yeah,
with this one, Sid? If you'll scroll back up for a second,
yeah,
because
sure.
you've got maintenance requests, and I love this, how to submit, and then you've got what's an emergency, what's routine, and I would add one more, what's not a request. And there's a lot of discussion on social media about mismatch paint, scratches and countertops. This is not safety items, right? It's like if it's not a safety item and it's an aesthetic item, it's cosmetic, that is not a maintenance request. I'm not going to go in and fix mismatch paint. That can be something that we can deal with later on, especially as you're trying to retain a tenant. But if somebody's just in there going, well, I don't like the scratches in my counter, that's not a safety item. That's something we'll note as a condition inspection on
For sure.
move-in, but that's not a repair item. We're not going to repair that. So there's definitely um, a line of what is a safety item, what should even be a request is what I'm
Yes.
throwing in. But this is
Yes.
fantastic because what's an emergency? What's a drop everything and call 911, call us.
Hmm.
If there's imminent danger to life and safety, life and property, we need a call
For
immediately.
sure.
If it's routine, well, and if it's a tricky step, there's water leaking. I mean, all of this kind of stuff, that's stuff that needs to be dealt with immediately. But if it's dripping faucet, towel bar broken, cabinet handle broken, the fridge
Yeah.
light bulb is out, those are not safety items. They will get
No.
dealt with.
Mhm. Yeah,
Anyway,
exactly. And
I
people
love that you
probably
got
think,
in this.
"Oh, it's an emergency," and it's
No,
like,
it's not.
yeah,
It's not.
exactly.
It's not. It might be an emergency to them and it might irritate them and I don't blame them because I'm the same way. I'm OCD, but there is a line of what is a landlord supposed to actually provide
Yeah.
and what they're not supposed to provide.
Yeah, and I
Fair
think
enough.
outlining that is the essential core idea of what we're talking about today is
Yeah.
setting expectations and having a clear onboarding process so that your tenants can feel confident and they know from the beginning, and you've set out the boundaries. This is how we operate here, and so that there's no issues down the road and they're saying, well, what about this and what about that, and you've clearly defined this from the beginning. So I think that's super
Right.
important.
No, I love it. And I love that
Yeah.
you've got response times in there. Like, honestly, I always tell our tenants, I was like, you want to see us come running? Tell us there's a water
Mhm.
leak.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Water is the
Exactly.
enemy in multifamily for us.
Oh,
So,
yeah, no, that's not, water is
excellent.
awful.
No, I get it. Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to throw in what
Oh,
is not
no.
a request. This is
Yeah,
great.
no, that's
Keep
perfect.
going,
I love it.
please.
I love that. And sometimes I can ramble, so feel free to just like,
Oh, you're
hey,
fine.
say something. The other thing I was going to say about this too, from a technical perspective, especially if you have like say plus properties, is if you
Mm-hmm.
did have what's routine, that's where you could link a request form that they fill out with
Mm,
details and information. So it's not really coming to your emergency number. So you could say, what's an
right.
emergency? Call or text this number, and it's specific. What's routine? Submit a request, and you're funneling them into more of a spreadsheet idea so you can then tackle them, assign who needs to be dealt with. And it's kind of a running to-do list for you, but it's not something they need to submit the request. But at the end of the day, it's not urgent, and you, from your emergency line, probably only want to hear urgent. So just something else to think about.
No, that's cool. Set them up for
Hmm.
success because you know what? Tenants are trainable, just like landlords are trainable. That's
Yes,
good.
yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Keep going. Love it.
Yeah, so then utilities. So that's another one. Every property is going to be different. What's available? Is there gas? We don't know if there's gas at that or well, you would know, but the tenant doesn't know. Do they need to call Fortis? And that's going to be different depending on your location and what internet providers are out there, options. And
Hmm.
if it includes Wi-Fi, what is the information so they can access it? That should be
Hmm.
easily available for them here so that they can always reference it. The really cool part about doing it this way is if you update this template in live time, it will update when they look at it on their end. So that's the benefit of
Oh.
having this over something like a PDF too, is that you can update this information on your side as needed, put information in there. And this is the nice part too, is this is specific for this property only. So when
Mm.
you're sharing it, you can share the link to the tenant, and it's only for that tenant of that property. So other properties wouldn't see this. So it's essentially you have one of these for every single property that you have, because every property is
Mm.
going to be different.
Right.
So then we have the collection information. Where do you store your trash and recycling? Like, what are your guidelines around that? We're not going to have it build up around the property. We're going to make sure that they're following all those type of rules, right? So I think the
Hmm.
utilities is important.
You know, one of the
Um,
other things that you could do too, just throwing it in there, because when we're talking about trash and we're talking about recycling, instantly I go to wildlife. I go to bears,
mhm,
bees, dogs, the
yeah.
trash gets in. And so I always put in maintenance is that cougars, I mean, you're in British Columbia. I
Yeah.
happen to be in Hawaii, but this is where in the event there is a bear encounter, which happens,
Mhm,
that is where it's like, if there's an emergency, what do you actually do? Well, you call conservation, but
yeah.
that is also very property specific. It might be like if we're talking to somebody in Minnesota and they're having a moose encounter, which happens,
Yeah.
what do they do? And this is where landlords, if you're listening to this, you've got to know what you need to do for your specific properties because I'm saying words that are applicable to me in British Columbia that may not be applicable, that may be a
Mhm.
different word or a different agency. So, but animal encounters are always an issue as well, especially if there is a potential that someone could get hurt, right? So, anyway,
Yes,
keep going.
yes.
Please, sorry.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good point because animals are a huge one and they're different everywhere. Some places have raccoons and some places don't, and it's just going to be
Some
different.
places have
So, yeah.
alligators, like
Yeah.
Florida. There's
Yeah.
alligators everywhere in
Yeah.
Florida. What do you do, right? There's
I wouldn't have
pythons in
thought of that.
Florida. I mean, I don't have
Yeah.
that problem here in Hawaii, but Florida does, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely giving an opportunity for you, and especially if you're a landlord that owns properties in multiple places, you're organizing it per unit. This isn't generic, and so this is very unit specific.
Love it.
And then we have door locks and keys, how that works. Is it a smart lock code? What happens? Where your mailbox is, additional locks, storage info, just anything like that.
Hmm.
Parking is huge. You want to really designate where people are parking, which spots
Hmm.
they're taking up, if you have multiple tenants in one property or units in one property, and it's like, okay, you only get two vehicles. That's also something we have on the application form because if you have five vehicles, we're not going to be able to be parking them at this unit. So really making sure that when you're first signing them on then that's communicated, and then second of all, once you're onboarding them, okay, so what does that look like, where are you supposed to, is it labeled, where do guests park, all that kind of thing. So some things
Hmm.
to think about for sure. And then we have heating and cooling systems. So any type of information on how to keep your place warm or the air conditioning and all of that here. If you even need to, you can link to like direct user manuals on here. Like you could actually hyperlink it, so that they can click on it directly. So you're not dealing with a bunch of paper manuals. So if you have the same, like a lot of people do this, I'm going to buy the same product for every single unit that I have. Okay, it's this brand. Here's the manual. I'm going to upload it in here. You can literally highlight it and you could link it into or upload something. It's pretty easy to do that. Oops, I'm jumping around here. Yeah, so that's handy to be able to have that. At any time in this app, you can also go like this, and it allows you to add things. So if you wanted to upload a file or an image or reference things, you can totally build whatever you want to in here.
This is a
And
great template. Holy man. I just keep thinking you'd only have to do this one time per property
yeah,
and you've got everybody set up, right? Wow. Okay, sorry. This
yeah,
is just, it's amazing. Keep going. This is
yeah.
fantastic.
I know. I love doing this stuff. It's so
Hmm.
fun. So then appliances, how to use them, same thing. You can have user manuals, what to, if there's a specific quirk about that one unit that this needs to be turned on first or whatever it may be, right? What's available to them. This is gas. If you smell something, this is a problem. Some people might not know that, right? Like there's certain things that they need to be aware of. And so appliances is important, where all of your different items are around your property, smoke, carbon monoxide. Water shut off valve is super important. Like we're talking about the flooding, any type of water issue, which is our worst enemy. We do not want that. And so if we have that situation, where are we going to shut off the water to the property? Because we need to be able to know that.
You know, Sydney, we had something happen 3 days ago right here in Hawaii. We live
Oh,
as a part of one of our rentals here, and Mike was installing a water filter because the water, some reason the water on Maui has where we are has turned a little bit sour. And he says, I really don't like it. I want to put on a water filter, especially for the ice and going into the fridge. And I said, okay, fine. So he starts installing this, and I'm in the other room working on this podcast framework, and all of a sudden I hear water gushing. And I mean gushing. And I'm like, that
oh
wasn't part
no.
of the afternoon. This was on Saturday. And so I run in the other room and the water is literally puking out of the wall to the floor of the kitchen in our unit. And
Oh
and I'm like,
no.
and I see him, he's soaking wet and he's like, shut off the water. He's screaming at me and I'm grabbing towels and I mean, and it's not stopping. And I'm like, what? How? How do I shut off the water? I have no idea how to shut off
Jen,
the water. So he gets up, literally, it is coming out like a hose, more than a hose, coming out of the wall into the
wow.
kitchen. It is,
Wow.
this is bad and it's getting worse by the second. So he's running. He then slips because we just had the floors cleaned. We haven't been here. We've been on the boat all summer. We get here, he slips, he piles up at the end of the hallway, and I'm thinking, oh my God, he's just broken his leg.
Oh
He's like, no, no,
no.
I'm fine. He gets up, he runs out to the water meter. Now we have multiple units on this property. He shuts it off and he runs back in, soaking wet, and he's grabbing the vacuum, and I've got towels. Literally, we used every towel we had trying to mop
Oh,
up this water. And I'm like, what just happened? So instantly I'm going,
it
oh my
happened
gosh,
so
I got to let the
fast.
tenants know that we shut the water off because they got babies over here. And I'm
Yep.
like, oh my
Yep.
gosh, like, what the hell happened? And he says, well, I was doing this and I accidentally pulled this valve. And so he pulled the shut off. There was no shut off beyond that. And so water shut off is something that you want to know in advance when it's not urgent. Because I can tell you,
Yes.
I told him, I said, I have absolutely no idea where the shut off for this house is. He turned it off at the meter at the street. I don't
Oh,
even know if there
but not
is
everyone
another
can
one.
even do that. That's hard for people. They
I
wouldn't even know to,
I
yeah,
had
yeah.
no idea. And so it was just mayhem. I just looked at him. I said, well, at least the floor's clean.
So how
So
much
we find,
damage?
yeah, so it wasn't damaged at all. We actually got it
Okay.
super fast. I got pots and pans out and I'm trying to catch it. There's towels, literally everything's floating. And I mean, it wasn't that bad.
Oh,
It didn't actually flood the whole unit. It just made a big mess. There was
it's
honestly in all of it,
water's
it
the
was
worst.
probably 4 or 5 gallons of water that came out in about 4 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes
Oh,
before he was able to
that's
shut it off. But it went underneath the cabinet, so we had to move all the everything and just fans and towels. And so this one right here, now granted, I know my tenants aren't going to be installing a water filter. Like I
yeah,
know that's
yeah,
not going to happen, but
yeah,
this is critical. These shutoffs
for
are
sure.
And it happens when you least expect it. And even me, I was like, I have absolutely no idea how to shut off the water to this house. Not
And
one
then when
clue.
you're already panicked, your brain just escapes
Doesn't work.
it doesn't like there's no it's like so to know that already, you're pre-programming your brain to be in problem solving mode if that happens. It's like
Yep.
I have the solution. We just got to go to it, but oh, I'm so sorry. That's so awful
No,
that that
it
happened.
was
It's just frustrating.
it was
Oh,
absolute sheer panic. And
oh,
then between the two of us, we ended up, all the rugs had to come up, everything had to come up, all the furniture had to get moved out. But we did, in fact,
oh.
even this morning, because it just happened about 4 days ago, I said, you know what? I think we dried it all out, got everything up. There was no smell, there was no molding, there was no damage to the counters or
Mhm.
any cabinets or anything. But it's so silly. But like breaker boxes, the
Yep.
shutoffs, even the gas, how you shut off the gas, these are the simplest things that
Mhm.
you don't think about, but it sets you up for success. I know how to shut off the water now.
Yeah, exactly, and it's usually after when you learn. It's by
Oh,
problems which suck, and you don't wanna have to use the problems to be able to have the answer, so if
yeah.
we can give our tenants that, confidence, then that's a good thing.
Well, especially if they can get the emergency stopped, even if we help
Yes,
with the recovery, if they can,
yes.
like, if they have to wait for a plumber to turn off the water, that's bad.
Oh, but
You know
then
what I
there's
mean?
so
Yeah,
much damage that could be happening, whereas if they can turn
right,
that off right away, then instantly, then we're
right.
able to be like, "Okay, we at least it's dry, at least it's not getting worse," and then we can, fix the issue, but it's the if it just kept flooding water, that would be awful.
Bad. But
Yeah, so water is not our friend.
it also gives the tenant a sense of this is their home. There is a
Mhm.
bit of diligence for them saying, "Hey, you live here. Give us a running start here," because
Yeah.
in the event it's damaged and like what are we going to do? We don't want their personal property get wrecked. I don't want my unit wrecked. So anyway,
Exactly,
sorry,
and
that's an
then the
aside.
inconvenience oh, no, that's amazing, and I mean, not amazing that happened to you, but amazing for you to have that input to be able to put in like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's, and 2, the with the tenants taking I like that the way you say that too, it's like them having that I feel like it's assigning them a little bit of responsibility, and
Absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
responsibility is huge in just them taking charge and in making it almost more of a team effort to be like,
Hmm.
this is also like you said it's their home too, like
Hmm.
they need to have the mindset, oh, it's not mine, I don't have to fix it, it's not mine, this or whatever, not so good mindset sometimes people have. We
Yeah,
can empower them as landlords to hopefully have more of a take responsibility, this is my home too, this is a partnership, we're working together,
it's
and
absolutely what
it
it is.
creates a better relationship, right? So
The other one that I'm going to throw in too, just because of British Columbia, sump pump, basement
oh yes.
pumps. This is
Hmm.
another one that I would throw in either as appliances or in general. And I would say once a year during annual maintenance, let's make sure the sump pump's working. Or if we know there's a big storm coming to Powell River, we
Yeah.
will make sure go down and check it, make sure it's on, make sure the electric is working because it's got a cord over to the sump pump. That's really critical because if the sump pump isn't working, we're going to have a flooded basement. It's going to happen. So
And
again,
we just
set
had this
ourselves up for success. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say we just had this exact scenario where all of our town completely flooded in a matter of 15 minutes, and I heard there was hundreds of claims that went into insurance because of how bad this flood was last month. It was in the middle of summer; it was crazy, and that
Yep,
this is in BC, and in the middle of summer, which is odd, but it happened, and it just shows not everyone was prepared, and all the things that you have to go through. So it's really good to be aware of all these emergency things.
absolutely. No, it's
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. No, it's great. This is
Hmm.
fantastic. You're setting everybody up for success, Sid. Keep going. Outdoor
Yeah.
spaces.
Yeah, so we
Okay.
can, what is it in your yard, your snow removal? Are you living in a building where somebody's taking care of that? What does that look like? Are you responsible for any type of the landscaping? Is that a part of your contract? What does that look like? Where your hoses are, lawnmower, yeah, like if that's your responsibility, tools, that kind of thing. Just communicating where they find all these things.
Hmm.
We don't want them to move out. We want, our tenants to stay. But at the same time, if that happens, what is required. Again, just reminding them of this. They did sign a lease, but people don't always read everything. And sometimes we need to, recommunicate or, just make sure that they understand how much notice is required. What are they needing to do? Um, Cleaning expectations. Do they need it professionally cleaned? Is there a fee for that? What does that look like? How the final
Hmm.
walkthrough is, which is huge. And that's something we didn't actually talk about as part of onboarding, but you could also attach at the very beginning a copy of their completed walkthrough checklist at the beginning too. If you
Hmm.
wanted to put that in here just for their reference and yours, you can have that. And then you can, yeah. So that's an option too. And where was I? Down here.
You're at the very bottom.
And
Yeah.
at the very bottom. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, how it works for the security deposit, keys access, where to return it if it's a lock, and then reassuring them maybe that if it's a, or then they know it's a code. Maybe even also telling clients, or sorry, not clients, tenants at the beginning of this onboarding guide too. Another thing you could add is, just so you know, if it is a smart lock, we've given you a fresh code, so nobody else has this code. We don't reuse this code from previous tenants. That's actually something
Hmm.
probably pretty important too, because then it's just a safety thing. People feel good about that, right? So
Yeah.
something else as well.
Well, and that's very it, it gives the tenant a very big peace of mind, which is fantastic. The other thing that I might consider adding into this, which I think is stellar, like I do not have this, and I think that I need to take this and really make it make it mine too. I mean, this is I plan on using this myself. One of
And
the
I'll
things
show
that I would,
everybody how we can import it, and I'll get
oh,
through all the
perfect.
techie side of it after too.
I love it. So one of the things that we could add for this, because we have an annual maintenance program for all of our properties. Everybody has and every property gets its own annual maintenance, but they're all properties are a little bit different, as you said. One of our apartment buildings has a fire alarm panel, and so we usually do annual maintenance while the fire alarm people are checking the panels so that we minimize intrusions for the tenants, right? And so but the annual maintenance checks for all unit, regardless of locations, is the same. We're looking under sinks, we're checking all the burners, we're making sure all the light bulbs are working, we're making sure the locks and the blinds, and like literally our crew knows this checklist so well because we've done it for so many years that we know what we're looking for, and we are actively seeking ways that we can extend the life of the building, of the property. So we're looking
Of
for
course, yeah,
staircases that need replaced. We're looking at fascia boards that need recaulked or
yeah.
gutters that need fixed. Like this is the kind of, like even this year we had talked about before the weather turns, one of the driveways in one of our properties actually slopes towards the building. And every time, like that flood you mentioned, every time there is a downpour, it rains because it runs towards the building. And so
Mm-hmm.
everybody was talking about it, going, how hard would it be to actually get a machine and get the slope to go away from the building? So this is the kind of stuff where if you have a designated area, designated time, and you're letting the tenant know in advance, this is how we think as a landlord. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're in that annual maintenance mindset, it's like, okay, you guys, let's think long term. That fence needs to be repaired. Let's think about that. This maybe could be for next year. Let's think about painting and caulking next year, right? Like this is the kind of stuff that we get going on to, and it really changes how people think. And I think that the tenants overall like it because the first thing we do when we give them the annual maintenance notice is we say, if there's anything you feel we need to look at, please write it on this and put it on your fridge. So the
Yeah,
first thing
that's
we do when
awesome.
we go into a unit is we look for the form on the fridge. Now, it's there about half the time. Sometimes it's got one thing, check my blinds, the microwave light bulb is out or something simple. Other times people have written us a novel. They've written us,
Oh yeah.
tons, and that's happened too, where it's like, people have requested, there's not enough natural light in this bedroom. Can you add a window? No, I can't
No.
add a window. I'm not doing
No.
major construction to
Yeah.
give you more natural light.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you're not happy with the unit, then either you need to reconfigure it so you have more natural light, or, we can try to accommodate you with one of our other units when we have a vacancy. But this is the kind of stuff where it's like this, putting the annual maintenance list, going, say, hey, onboarding tenant,
Mm-hmm.
know in advance that we do annual maintenance. And when we do annual maintenance, this is what you can expect.
Yeah, so I think having that in here is
Mm,
actually really great because what we can do is, oh, actually, this ties into the next conversation actually about this.
cool.
So if we say annual maintenance and then we can say what to expect,
Mm-hmm.
come on, there we go. Um, we can actually, so I'm going to go back out of this and I'm going to
Okay.
open. So just to clarify, this page is only what the landlord can see. When you
Gotcha.
open the property, again, this is only what the landlord can see. When
Mm-hmm.
you click, so think about this as this is the parent item and this is a sub item. You can
Okay.
have as many sub pages as you would like. So if we wanted to have an annual maintenance checklist in here for that
Ah,
unit specifically, we
they know
then,
what we're checking.
yes, exactly. So then we can, let me go back here. So then we can go over here and you have your annual maintenance for this. We have, and we can continue on. It's now when you click into it, so that's where this one is specific for the tenant's eyes only. So
Mm,
anything you want to do internally, I would do it on this page, add in any other pages. But if you click onto this and you hit the share button in the top right corner, you're
mm,
now sharing this specific template. You can hit publish and you hit publish. They don't need this app. They don't need anything to be able to view this. It looks just like a web page on their side. So you
cool.
can copy the link, you can send it to them via text or via email. This is the link. This now you can see this page is live. So that's how you know if a page is being shared or not. So if we go back to here, you can see this page is not getting shared. This page is not getting shared, just this page, and that's all we need them to see.
Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
that's
Okay.
where the nice part about this is when they see this page, any live updates, when they click on it, they'll see the latest version. So if you add new things or whatever you do to update this. And so the easy part about this is if you want to, you can either just click new item to add a new property and it adds a brand new copy of this list for you already in there to then customize for your next property. Or option two is you can take this one and we can duplicate this so that any changes you've made to the first one are is on the second one now, which is great because then that way if you've taken a lot of time and maybe you have unit A, B, C in one, on one property and everything's the same, we don't want to have to rewrite that 3 times. So this gives you the opportunity to duplicate it 3 times and just tweak a few things specific for that unit, and you can label like this is the address, this is unit A on this address, and it's just duplicating right now. It's taking a minute. Could be my internet, I'm not sure. But and then with that, there's also this way of viewing it. If you're not also a list, you can view it as a list, but you can also view it this way if you need to say, okay, this one's listed, this one's vacant, and you can move it around. These are occupied. Oh, I need to do maintenance on this. You can use it to organize your brain if you have a lot of properties. And then when you click into it, that's where you see everything to do with this specific property within here.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Cool.
and you can see all these properties here. And you can add the info, especially if you want to. It's like a spreadsheet. So if you want to add in the monthly rent, and it will total it for you so you can see what your monthly revenue is, all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Or if you wanted to
Mm-hmm.
add a new column called expenses and total expenses specific for that
Mm.
property, you could also then have a column calculating expenses. You could see your total income and expenses as well. You could have a specific column that just says property taxes, that just says sky's the limit with this template. You can customize it for your business however you want. That's just getting a little bit more technical into it. But if you just want to keep it simple, you click new, you open it, you edit the onboarding template, and you hit share. And you hit send, and then there you go. Your tenant now has their onboarding guide and everything they
Mm-hmm.
need to know for their new property.
That's pretty amazing. Well, and it's especially since the top one you've put emergency contacts. I mean, not everybody is super tech savvy. Not everybody has a printer, but if you have that as your first bit, that is almost printable that they could stick it on their fridge. Because again, I'm
For
always
sure.
thinking, what's the best way to set people up when something happens? Because it usually happens relatively fast, like a flood or
Yeah,
potentially a fire,
exactly.
God forbid, or
And
smoke,
so maybe
something.
they want to see that in person in front of them. And so another
Right.
option too is that you can share this link with them so they have it for reference. If they don't have a printer, that's fine. If you also want to have a laminated copy, maybe, or like
Mm-hmm.
in, the protected pages and stuff like that,
Yep.
you could export this and export it as a
Oh,
PDF.
PDF. There
Export
you
it as a
go.
PDF, you hit print, you update it on your annual maintenance, and it just gives you an opportunity to really, flush this out, organize it as you need to, hit export. And the beauty of it is being able to organize all of the information around every property from a higher level too, because
Right.
that's the issue when you have a ton of properties. If you have one, creating one guide is not a big deal and not having to know all the information. But for
When you got multiple.
landlord has a lot of properties, you want to know all of this information on one sheet so it's high level.
The other thing that you could do too is not in the tenant screen, but in the team, like just internally. It's
Yep,
always critical when I'm looking at who are my available plumbers, who are my available electricians,
yep,
who can we call? Because not every, even if we have, let's say we have a like an emergency like we had at my house, now I got to call a plumber. Well, not every plumber is available. Yeah, exactly, contractors. So then it's like,
yep,
okay, the contractors, cleaners, like all these different things internally, and not every one of the rentals is geographically near another one. It might be
exactly.
contractors in Powell River, BC,
Yes.
contractors in Fort Myers, Florida, right? Like,
And you can
anyway, it's going
list
to be
them. You
really,
could say plumber, the name, phone number, everything. The nice
yep,
part, you could share this entire database with your support team. You could hit
exactly.
share. You can share with your support team. If you want to keep information like this stuff, though, probably confidential, I'd probably only share certain types of things
Sure,
depending on how much information you're going to put on
sure.
there. I might
Yeah,
not
no problem.
publish the whole thing, whereas the
No,
onboarding guide's pretty generic. It's not, there's no private specific information on there. So it's
yeah,
okay. But, if you're talking rents, maybe tenant info, tenant phone number, that kind of stuff, then yeah, you might
gotcha.
want to think about that. But this is internal. So what I'm saying is that you could share it and invite somebody with their email so that they have to
Hmm.
log in to view the information versus just viewing it without having to log in first. So you could invite your team this way. And it's all
Very
free,
cool.
by the way, no cost to the software.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how
Yeah.
how do we get this? Like if I wanted to use it
So
or one of the listeners wants to use it, how do we get this?
So what I'm going to do is you'll see there's going to be a link here, and I have a duplicate as template on. So what's going to
Mhm.
happen is you'll see this link, and when you click on it, and it opens a page. Let me see if I can get this to show up here.
And by the way, for those of you listening, we are still screen sharing on YouTube at My Life as a Landlord. Like we're still screen sharing how she's walking through this. But I know that there's going to be a bunch of stuff in the show notes as well. So feel free to play around with this because I know I am. This is cool. Oh, now
I'm
you
just
stop
going to
sharing.
No, I'm just going to update the tab because this is what you see when you click on the template link. You
Oh,
see just
okay.
a preview version of it. And what
Uh-huh.
you're going to do is you're going to click this duplicate button. And when you click the button, it's going to prompt you. I already have this on here. So I'm just going to get out of that. But I already have a Notion account. So it's going to prompt me to just import it to my current Notion account.
Hmm.
But if you don't have one, you hit the duplicate button in the top right corner, and then all you have to do is create a Notion account for free. Google whatever email address, password, and then you're good to go.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
So ready to customize, ready to take the
yeah,
template and make it ours and just adjust it as needed. Perfect. Well, inevitably there's going to be questions if a listener wants to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you to ask questions?
yeah, of course. So they can go to my website at heysydney.co. They can head there, they can send me a message, and that's usually the easiest way to find me and all my up to date everything. And yeah, I would love to hear from anyone if they have any questions, and any questions about the template, any support issues they need around that. Feel free to send me a message.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. Any parting thoughts, Sid?
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is just making sure as a landlord that when you make communication and expectations a priority in your remote landlord business, then it makes everything so much easier as you continue on in this journey.
Nice. Well done. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for being here. Thanks for coming back. I'm sure we'll have you on more.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Excellent.